Before we begin, I am going to put a disclaimer on this video. I am not giving any medical advice. I am just telling the viewers what I do, what I know works in neonatal kitten medical care when it comes to diagnosing illness and using medications. So first off, when a neonate 1 week to 3 weeks old is abandoned, or a kitten, let's say, 8 to 10 weeks, anything under that, when they're abandoned and they're still nursing, they are abruptly cut off from their mother's milk. They're not getting the colostrum from their mother's milk, and they're not getting the antibody protection that they're used to getting from their mother's milk. What does this do? Well, this is a shot to their immune system. So if you've ever bottle fed and you're like, oh, they were fine yesterday, and then today they're really sick, oh my gosh, and then they died at like 10 p.m. Yesterday at 10 p.m. they were fine. It happened so fast. It's because there are very subtle signs that they will give you, and you need to be able to recognize these. Number one, you need to be able to take their temperature rectally. This is something scary, especially for new feeders. If you don't want to take their temperature rectally, please keep them on their external heat source for 1 hour away from any drafts before you attempt to feed them. Little signs that you can look for: getting lethargic. Say that they were moving a lot one day, the next day they're not moving as much. Watch that carefully. They start having really stinky, liquidy stool. Coupled with that, they miss a meal. If they miss that second meal, if they miss a meal, try to feed them 2 hours later. If they miss another meal and they're 7 to 21 days old or younger, you have a problem. This is what I do. This is what works for me almost every single time. And let me just say, I have never had a neonate pass away from something that I have given them or done for them. They have only passed away from what I haven't done. And this can be daunting, and I understand. A lot of vets will not treat any kitten under 2 pounds. It is called off-label. They call it off-label. They call it off-script. They will not do it. They will only suggest euthanasia. There are ways for you to still help them. Opportunity to volunteer with a rescue and have them help you. I'm gonna tell you guys here what I use, and I use the same things every single time. My go-to most of the time is Clavamox. Not every time, most of the time. If I have a situation where I hear crackling, popping in the lungs, say it's like Khaleesi pneumonia, aspiration pneumonia, whatever, I will start them on the Clavamox, but I will also, and this is where I'm gonna lose some people, this is where some people are like, she's crazy. I use injectable Baytril, and I know it's getting more popular. A lot more people are using it. It got some bad press a while ago because it can cause blindness, but that's if you do not dose it correctly. If you are going to use any of these medications, you need to find someone who will train you, all right? Vets will not work on kittens under 2 pounds a lot of the times because they don't want to dose down the medication. It's off script, but you can. A lot of these medications are made so you dose them 0.1 per pound. Not all medications, you need to check, but a lot. Whoever sells you the medication or gives you the medication must know. So since I use, most of the stuff I use is 0.1 per pound, I dose them in ounces. So 16 ounces is 1 pound. I do not even mess with grams. So let's say we have a neonate that is 8.3 ounces. I measure 0.05. It is the half of the 0.1. With the Clavamox, if they are under 8 ounces, you can get away with giving them a tiny bit more Clavamox. Say that they're 6 ounces and you give them still the 0.05, it's not gonna kill them. If you do that with the Baytril, a huge issue. So please make sure if you're using anything injectable, that 1000% has to be measured to the T. Baytril, Clavamox for any types of pneumonia, anything super serious, mystery illness that they're like dying and you're not sure if they've gone into organ failure yet, you have them on the heating pad. Kittens too. If a kitten's temp is lower than it should be because they're starting to go into shock or whatever, you put them on the heating pad. You know, they can be going septic. Another thing I want to discuss is neurological conditions. So if you get a neonate 1 day to 21 days old and they have their arms sticking way back, or they have an arm up here that doesn't move, or they have a leg that's going like this, and they're not eating and they're screaming, and no Baytril. You cannot give Baytril to anything that has neurological symptoms. So no Baytril. Clavamox is not strong enough, or it's just not the right antibiotic. The appropriate antibiotic for any neonate that is having neurological symptoms is clindamycin. Well, why is this? Oh, well, what if it's not bacterial? Well, if it's not bacterial, then you're screwed. There's nothing that you're gonna be able to do. It's gonna pass away anyways. Start them on, you find out what it is, how many milligrams per pound, you get the dosing, and then you start giving it as it is directed. A lot of times it is because a bacteria has broken the blood-brain barrier. And I could go into so many different stories of, you know, he was with his mom, but then the mom probably stopped nursing him, lost the antibody protection, already had the infection broke through before the rescuer got there. Just start the clindamycin. Do not give them Baytril, and do not give them Clavamox, because it's not the right one. Stomach issues, you can deworm your neonates at 2 weeks old. Do not use Panacur. I see on these Facebook pages, oh, you can use Panacur at that age. No, you fucking can't. No, you can't. Sorry for my language. No, you can't. You might get lucky a few times and you're gonna kill one, okay? Use Pyrantel, and you can also use Panazerol. Occasionally, you will have a neonate that has a reaction to the Panazerol. Take them off immediately. You can give them fluids as long as they're not anemic. We'll go over that in a second. Switch them to Albon. If you have neonates that have coccidia and also have roundworms, and you give them the Pyrantel and you don't give them the Panazerol at the same time, you're going to have an explosion of coccidia. So if you have the slightest indication that they have coccidia, which is extremely common in Miami. I guess it's not common up here because my vet's like, no, it's not that common. No. There are some seasons where like 75% come in, they have it right away. Make sure that you're keeping all of your neonates quarantined. They must be quarantined for at least 2 weeks. You must wash your hands between different litters. You must use separate supplies for each litter. Fluids. I do not give fluids because all the time, even if they're dehydrated. I try to do it orally. Obviously, if they're vomiting and diarrhea, you know, you're gonna need to like bypass the stomach, so you'll give the fluids.
It's okay.
But if they're kittens and they are accepting food, try giving them Rebound. Rebound is a great supplement. You can find it on Amazon. It does really well with kittens. With neonates, you need to check for neonates and kittens. You always need to check their ears, their gums. You need to look in the mouth of the neonate. You need to look up in the back and make sure that they don't have a cleft. There are so many little nuances to this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many ways to help them and advocate for them medically, when a lot of the veterinary professionals won't, and they have their reasons, and a lot of them are trained like that. So, you know, we have our rescues, we have the people that have trained us, and I know that this stuff works. If you have any questions, please message me. But we went over Baytril and Clavamox for pneumonias or deadly like mystery illnesses. Baytril and Clavamox, clindamycin for neurological, and the Pyrantel and the Panazerol at 2 weeks old. Do not give Panacur to any kitten under 8 weeks old. Okay, now I sound really serious. This is actually very serious. I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm just telling you guys stuff that I know works. It works.